Podcast. It has been a while since I sat here and done this, and I really want to thank you all for bearing with me while my output in every single way has been very low. I also want to thank everyone who has sent me really lovely messages or suggestions or anything with helping with my wrist. Physio is progressing well. I am, well, according to prognosis, I should be able to knit a few tentative stitches in a couple of weeks' time, so onwards and upwards. And in the meantime, I am able to do a bit more computer work. I'm able to brush my hair with my right hand again. Like these all feel like wins. So because I have still been doing basically no making, I usually include a little section of what I've been up to in the podcast. If I did that, it would just be me sitting here reading, which is kind of fun to do, but probably not fun to watch. So this is going to be a slightly shorter episode, but I do have lots of exciting things that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. So the first pattern I have to show you is this one here, which is a jumper. This is my first published jumper pattern. So this one was published in Knit Now back in April, and the rights have just reverted to me. It's called Hexangle, and the pattern is available on my website and on Ravelry, and will be up on Lovecraft quite soon because they take a bit longer to approve and publish patterns. So you can see it's got this textured stitch pattern, which is sort of a combination of ribbing and stockinette and some little cables and things. And so you've got a little bit of a drop sleeve, the sleeves are in ribbing, it's worked in the round from the bottom up, then split for the front and back, and the shoulders are seamed, and then you pick up stitches for the sleeves and neckline. I'll just put it on so you can take a look. The yarn is Debbie Bliss Rialto DK, which is a superwash merino yarn, so probably not one I would have chosen myself because I tend to avoid superwash as a rule, but it is a nice soft yarn. I feel like it is going to stay looking good for quite a long time. I don't think it feels like one that would peel a lot or anything. So you can see you've got this slightly deep V neckline, the sleeves are nice and fitted, and then you've got a bit of positive ease on the body. And it's a sort of low hip length, which I think is a really nice length. Like, I really do like the look of a shorter jumper, but in winter I just get really cold around sort of the waistline of my trousers or skirt or whatever, and so I think having that extra length is really nice, and I like this top with like a skinny trouser. I think that's a really nice silhouette. So yes, it's quite a fun knit. It's a DK weight yarn, so it works up fairly quickly. It's quite warm. I mean, it is still August after all. So you've got the stitch pattern on the back as well as the front, which I quite like. Like, I don't mind jumpers where the stitch pattern is just on the front, because that's mostly what you see anyway, but I really do like it when the back is patterned as well. And I particularly enjoy just the detailing at the base of the V-neck there. I put quite a lot of work into planning that to make sure that the bit of ribbing would go into the V really neatly, and I think that's worked out nicely. So yes, that one is Hexangle, and the pattern is available now. Now, the next thing I have to show you isn't necessarily something I've made, but this is the second issue of John Arbon's annual, and I've met a few of the people at John Arbon over the years at various shows and things, and if you've watched previously, you might remember I tried out their Yarnadelic yarn when it came out, and this one I have been sent because I tech edited it, and I spent a while working on this a while back, and it's a really lovely little publication. It's got patterns, it's got puzzles, it's got information about their yarns, and I just really love the photography in it. Some of the pattern photography in sort of glorious windy landscapes is wonderful, and I mean, look at that shot, just yarn on heather, but that's beautiful. And it's got lots of interesting information about the yarn. There's a really good little bit about the difference between woolen and worsted yarn, which is very interesting because if you're into spinning and things, or if you have your own yarn made, as I do, then it's probably something you're aware of, but it's something that has a lot of effect on not just the yarn itself, but the way it creates a fabric that you knit, and that will affect how whatever you make out of it will hang and how the structure of the fabric will feel. So that's really interesting, and I highly recommend you check that one out. There are some lovely patterns in there, and yeah, it's a really nice little publication. I keep calling it little because it's just really cute. It's a nice format. Yeah, I like it. It was really fun to work on. Got to work with some lovely people, and it just makes me want all the John Arbon yarn. But I'm not buying yarn at the moment because until I can actually do something with it, there's not really much point. So yes, and I have another publication to show you. This one is one that you might know that I tech edit for making stories. So this one I did tech edit, except for the patterns that I contributed to this issue. So I'm really excited that they've published a couple of patterns of mine in this issue. Once again, I should have found the pages that my patterns are on in advance. So the first one is Sarcactus, which I have shown on the podcast before, but I'm going to get the jumper in a second and show you in more detail. It's a colourwork jumper. Again, the photography in this is so much fun. Got a nice double page spread there, that's really exciting. And the jumper is here. So I have the sample for this. Well, this is technically not the sample because this is one that I made alongside. This one is actually Ben's jumper. So this one is a size 4 from the pattern, and the actual sample in the magazine is a size 7, I believe. So I can show you this one on. It's going to be rather large for me because it's 2 or 3 sizes bigger than I would make for myself, but it is super cozy. So you've got colour work on the yoke, the same colour work on the forearms going up into the wrist there. There are 2 sleeve lengths in the pattern so that you can choose to use the longer sleeve length or the shorter sleeve length. I mean, they're both still long sleeves, but it sort of corresponds to length of arms. It's ones that traditionally would have been described as a man's and a woman's version, but we're dispensing with the arbitrary gender disparity there. There are lots of women with long arms and lots of men with short arms and lots of people who don't identify as either, so it doesn't matter. Long sleeves, but there are instructions written out to space the decreases at different intervals so that you get a sleeve length that is going to suit the kind of length you want. So this is the longer sleeved version, and it's fairly long in the body. Again, you can customize the body length because this bit here is just straight stockinette, so you can make it longer or shorter. I mean, this one is sort of, that comes down to kind of the bottom of my bum, because Ben, my husband, who I made this for, has a very long body. So this is almost like a tunic on me. It's really cozy. And the yarn is Mendip DK. So the grey is the naturally grey base, and the blue, this colour is Sky. The one in the magazine is the navy blue shade, which is called Night. And I think that colour combination is really beautiful. So I do have limited stock of Mendip DK in the shop at the moment. There are some skeins, there are probably a couple of jumpers worth in various colour combinations, but not loads. But I do have more yarn showing up from the mill, hopefully within the next week or so. And at that point I will be adding pre-orders onto the website so that you can have the colours and quantities you want dyed up for the jumper, so you can effectively treat it as a kit. So yeah, I'm very excited about this one. It's a design that I really, really love. It's really nice to see it photographed so beautifully in the magazine. I really, really love the photography in Making Stories. They have used the same photographer for years. She's called Melinda Della Costa. I've not met her, but I seriously appreciate her work. I think she works with light in a wonderful way. So yes, first pattern of mine in the magazine. The second one is actually on the back cover. And I don't have the sample for this one because it's still in Germany. There's a shot of it there. Oh, that's not going to be in focus. So this one is a shawl. The yarn again is Mendip DK, because Mendip DK is an awesome yarn. Let's try and find it. There we go. So it's quite an unusual shape in that it's sort of like a modified, slightly slanty diamond shape. And it's got, most of it is lace, but with a contrast colour ribbing border. Really nice shot of the lace there. And that one was fun. I mean, it's an interesting one to try and write up as a pattern, because I don't like to make things easy for myself. It's not at all complicated to knit, but to communicate the design in a sort of clear and effective way was interesting because of the way you build up the pattern. And I really like charts for working shawls, and so it's got quite a few charts for how to establish the pattern with the shawl. So there's a nice little schematic there here showing the shape of the shawl and how all the charts fit in. I mean, basically it's just ribbing and lace with some increases and decreases. But yeah, it's an unusual shape, and it's one that I have come up with so that you get a lot of warmth around your neck without lots of annoying traily bulk that gets in the way when you're trying to do stuff. Like, I quite like a shawl that will stay on really nicely, because I don't like a stubby little shawl that the ends keep falling off your shoulders and things. It's a decent sized shawl. It wraps around nicely, and then it's got quite skinny points on it, so you don't have all that extra bulk at the ends. So yeah, it's ideal for like warmth and practicality, as well as being quite pretty. So yes, both of those patterns are in Making Stories. I think pre-orders are open for the magazine now. It is published on September the 1st, and I do actually have one copy of the magazine to give away. And so I'm going to open this here. So to enter, you can enter from anywhere in the world. It's for one copy of Making Stories issue 4. And I'd just like you to make sure you're subscribed on this channel. You can hit the subscribe button right below now, and just comment on this video saying something that you like about the podcast. If you've watched before, it can be something from previous episodes. It can also be a request for something you'd like me to talk about in the future. Just something that you really like. And if you wanted to mention which of the patterns from the magazine you want to knit, then that would be super. And yes, so that will be open now. I will pick a winner on the actual release date of the magazine, so that will be Tuesday the 1st of September. And then I will get in contact with the person who has won. I'll reply to their comment and ask them to send me their details, because I don't want you posting your details in public. Yeah, and so that will be nice and fun, and I'm hoping that lots of people really enjoy this issue, because it's a beautiful issue as always. There are some really nice patterns in there. I haven't even talked about anyone else's patterns. I should probably do that. So just going to pick out ones I like. This one, All Over Lace Shawl by Ash Allberg. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, it's not something I would probably ever knit, just because really fine all over lace is not something I tend to go for, but it's really, really beautiful and a wonderful design. It's weird, isn't it, that there are things that you like to look at but wouldn't necessarily like to knit, and vice versa, things that are loads of fun to knit but then not actually your style or whatever. And then Wayfarer by, oh sorry, that one, I don't think I mentioned what it was called. The lace shawl was Acorn. This one is called Wayfarer. It's got lots of fun colour blocking, and it's a recipe style pattern by Maria Muscarella, who is a friend of mine, and it's just got fairly simple textured stitch patterns that are really pretty, and I really like a recipe style pattern, because I think they sort of suit my style of knitting, where for some things I sort of take the pattern as a guideline rather than the actual thing that I need to do. So yes, having that kind of ability to play around with things and how much yarn you use is just lots of fun. So yes, that is that one. And I have one last thing to show you. So the final thing I have to show you is something that is not something I have shown before at all, or even talked about. I've got a couple of baskets of goodies here. So in the times over the last couple of months when I have been able to do a bit of work, I have been dyeing these mini skeins, which are Shetland wool from Garthenor. So they're sourced from farms within the UK. And I have created these little sets of minis. So this is the first one. And then this is the second. So the second one is lots of sort of warm yellowy brown tones with a slightly greeny one here. Each set has some solids and some marls. So these two are dyed on solid white, and then these three are marls. Yeah, that's right. With the darker colours, it can be a little bit difficult to see the marling, but on the yellow there, it's really, really pretty. And it just gives that extra textural depth. So these are all dyed with plant dyes from my local area. So most of them are from the garden or things that I have foraged locally. So these are going to be released within the next few weeks. We're just working on getting details sorted out so that we can get all the labels printed and have everything all ready to go for you. And so because of the way that I source my dyes, I grow most of them myself or forage them sustainably from the local area. It means that I often don't have a huge amount of dye stuff available. And so these are super limited edition. I've got half the sets, which I will sell on my website, and Garthenor have the other half of the sets, and they'll sell those on their website. And so if you are interested in those, I would recommend going on our respective websites and signing up to the newsletters, because that is the first place where we will announce the actual release of them. And then you will be able to hear more details about the dye plants I've used and full details of the sets. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show them to you because they're really cute. Like, I really like them. They're lovely. So each set is 50 grams, which would be nice for like a hat or a pair of mittens or something like that. And yeah, they're super sweet. And so yes, I think, although this means that this is going to be really quite a short episode, I hope this has been interesting, and next month I will hopefully have got some actual knitting and other making done, so I'll have more things to show you and I'll be able to do a bit more of the regular videos. And so if you want to keep up with me in between times, as I've said, you can subscribe to my newsletter, you can follow me on Instagram, where I post more frequently than on here. And in the next week or so, I'm going to be creating a natural dye video for my Patreon channel. If you want to support me on Patreon, I'll put a link to that below. And I do extra videos for Patreon, so even if, as recently I've not been filming as frequently for the podcast here. Over on Patreon, you are guaranteed a video every month, and they are fun because there's often a bit of discussion in there. It's a cosy little group of people, and we're all getting to know each other, and it's quite nice. And so thank you to those of you who are subscribed on Patreon, and if you're at all interested, there's a link below where you can find out more. And so until next time.